As per usual, I won't be using footage on this channel because, well, I like my channel, and I don't want the big bad scary anime companies to strike me down because I'm using a copyrighted footage. Anyways, onto the video. Akudama Drive, unlike the last anime I discussed on this channel, was an absolute pleasure to watch. From the unique designs of the characters, which is apparently by the guy who did the Danganronpa character designs, so that was neat. The vibrant color palette, the Neo City background. In fact, it's probably one of the best, like a cyberpunk city. It's probably one of the best ones that I've seen. Like, I'd totally live there, except for, well, probably not near the end, because, yeah. But it also had plenty of high-octane action in almost every episode. It follows a story of one girl named Swindler. Well, that's the name that she's given, but I don't believe we ever actually learn her real name. If we do, it was a very small detail, so I don't remember it. Regardless, it follows her story and how she meets a curious biker courier who's getting takoyaki. He pays for it with cash, which in this society is a little weird because from the first few minutes of the show, we've already learned, without it telling us, mind you, it showed us, that they pay in a more digital-based currency. So it was strange for him to use physical currency, and so when he ended up dropping a 500 yen coin, she understandably picks it up to hand it back to him, but he declines it. So when she tries to pay for the takoyaki, and the owner tells her that they only accept cash, which is, again, unusual, so she wasn't expecting it, she ends up getting the police called on her. And of course, she goes to jail because of this, because she had 500 yen on her, but she didn't want to use it for some reason. Obviously, later on in the plot, that coin actually becomes somewhat important, but I don't want to get into too many spoilers, so I'll just leave it at that. Once she's in this facility, you get like a little montage mashup of all the different criminals or characters you're going to meet, and they're called Akudama. Basically like super S-tier criminals. Of course, as we soon find out, not all of them are super S-rank criminals, but they are eventually branded as it. For example, Hoodlum is just a Hoodlum. He's got a really low bounty. He's supposedly an Akudama, but he's not as high rank as the rest of them. Regardless of such, you get to see a montage of all the different main characters coming together, and don't mistake it, they are villains. They're bad people, but the story still chooses to focus on them, and that's part of probably why it's just so good. Not only are you not focusing on the typical hero story, instead you're focusing on criminals, but it makes you start to think like you want to root for them. But you're like, no, but they're pretty bad. But you root for them anyways because the show does kind of try to make the other side seem bad, which they're probably just as bad as the Akudama, if not worse. But unlike other shows where it seems ham-fisted, so you could be like, no, you weren't actually rooting for the bad guys, it still goes out of its way to remind you that 90% of the people here are terrible people and murderers. And it doesn't try to sugarcoat that fact. It's really refreshing to see that in an anime, because usually, as said, it's just a ham-fisted attempt to make the other side seem more evil, so you don't feel bad for rooting for the quote-unquote bad guys. Eventually, they go on this triad, this is all in the first episode, of course, to release Cutthroat, who is the super Akudama who is set to be executed. And through some beautiful, stunning animation, which I can't unfortunately show here, but I will show you some still images. I definitely recommend you go and watch it. It is airing on Funimation. Besides the point, through some visual spectacles, we get to see them release Cutthroat and defeat the executioners and the other police officers that are there. Once they do, the email that they had all received to get paid to release Cutthroat, the sender of the email shows themselves, and it's a cat. The cat then places a collar on each of their necks and tells them that they'll have to do their biggest job yet, which is stealing the Shinkansen. I don't want to go into further spoilers, but that's a general synopsis of the show. If it didn't already sound cool to you with Courier, for example, who rides around everywhere on a bike, and then Spider-Man web slings front and through the city from his bike, that doesn't sound cool as shit to you, I don't know what else. There's also this big buff dude who just beats the shit out of everything. There's Swindler, who through her zero intelligence, she manages to bungle her way through all of the scenarios in the show, and eventually comes out of it as one of the best characters in the entire damn show. And that's not to speak lowly of the other characters, because even when it comes to the antagonists, to our criminals, to our protagonists, they're great too. There's a knockoff Kakashi-looking dude in there, and he's fantastic. They fight them with these little lightsaber daggers. Like I said, every single episode is just action-packed, filled to the brim with high-octane action. There's some points where, it drags a little bit, namely, I want to say the third episode when they're kind of going over the plan of how to steal the Shinkansen. It's a little, the exposition is a little and the twist you may see coming, but the end of the show is the entire show. A show is not about its beginning and ending, right? It's about the journey to get there. The beginning is what gets you to watch, and of course the ending is just as important as the beginning, but people sometimes seem to overlook. They think the ending is paramount. It's really not. It's about the experience that you felt up to that point. If a show has a shit ending, then yeah, that might knock down a show that was like a 9 down to a 7, but it's not gonna ruin the show for you because the rest of it was great. Great show, bad ending. You get those all the time. Regardless, this show is great the entire way through, and like other shows, it has its falls, but it's still a solid 9 experience throughout, and I can't recommend it more. I mean, just look at these guys. Don't they look cool as all hell? And surprisingly, this is done by Studio Pierrot, which most people are going to shit on because they've done Shonen, Naruto, Shippuden, Bleach, so on and so forth. They don't have the best track record. But just like in Naruto Shippuden, where they would have these episodes that just looked fantastic, but you unfortunately would have to sip through 300 shit episodes to get to the one really well animated one, yeah, this show is like that, but if every episode looked like that. Of course, it's not the same exact art style, but you get my point. It's definitely one of this season's top, if not the top anime from this season. Can't recommend that you watch it enough. I know I've said that like 4 times already, but if you couldn't tell, I really like this show. So give it a watch. As I said, it's streaming legally over on Funimation, and if you don't have a Funimation account, well, I'm sure you'll figure out a way to watch it. That's about all I've got. I think I've rambled enough about this show. I don't script these videos, so they might seem a little bit all over the place. I just kind of give you my genuine opinions. It's not edited in any way. It's just my genuine opinion off the top of my head. I like to give you that and tell you why I like a show and why I think you should watch it. Or why a show is garbage and why you have shit taste if you like it. Normal things. But that's all I got. Remember to like and subscribe, and yeah, see you later.